for fast, cheap, and reliable Madden 21 Ultimate Team coins. Make sure you guys go check out my sponsor, Easy Mutt. Use code VENM at checkout for 5% off. Yo, what's up guys, Ben on Fire here, back from the video, and today I'm bringing you guys another coverage defense. This one is going to be one of my favorites. We're going to combine two concepts, that being match and double mabeling in today's video. It's going to be a really good way to confuse your opponents, but also play some really good, popular meta-style defense. This play is going to be in 3-3-5 wide, as you probably have seen from the thumbnail. We're going to run this cover 4. Now, most people, when they see this cover 4 show 2, they're expecting complete match across the board, match in the flats, match in the middle of the field, and match deep. We're going to combine, like I said, double flatting, so we're going to kind of cancel out most of the match in the middle and in the flats. But we will keep our outside quarters, do some stuff with that. Overall, it's going to be a unique defense, but I do think you guys will enjoy it. Now, hopping into our adjustments, go to curl flats at 25 and flats at 5. You can turn auto flip off or on if you want, doesn't really matter. Now, in today's video, we're also going to get safeties at linebacker, so you can go ahead, put your safeties in linebacker. I didn't necessarily do that yet, but we will go ahead, get our guys there when we hop onto the field. Really, you can come out in any play. Just make sure that when you audible down that you do have cover 4 in your audibles. Cover 4 show 2 at the bottom there. Now, in my last gameplay, in my previous video, I actually ran a lot of this, but I was running just match style, and you could see how my opponent maybe was starting to piece things together. That's when maybe you run match, then you switch to this little match double flat that we'll see. Also, before you into the video, make sure you guys do go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 20K, so if you could hit that sub button, it'd be much appreciated. Anyways, let's go ahead, hop into the video. Anyways, here we are out on the field, taking a look at our adjustments. Of course, we came out in this nickel 3-3-5, and we're going to go ahead and be audibling down. To audible down, press X or square on PlayStation, D-pad to that left-hand side, and then press LB. The playbook we're in is going to be 4-6 defensive playbook. You see how I put cover 4 at LB. Usually that's just me personally. You could put it at X or Y or whatever, but I like L1 there. So we're going to click it. You see our guys are going to shift into perfect position. Now, this defense, as normal, if I were to let the ball be snapped right here, it's not going to be matched. And the reason that it's not going to match is because we actually adjusted our zone drops. So if I just snap the ball, you'll see how the quarter flat's going to play at 25 yards, just like we set our zone drops to. So right when you set your zone drops to anything, it cancels the match coverage. So that's something to recognize, especially if you're trying to switch back to match from this double flat. Make sure that you do reset your zone drops to default. Otherwise, that will be a pretty big problem for you. So again, we're just going to audible down. Let's hop into our actual adjustments though. Now, what I like to do is I'm going to shift my D-line to that wide side, the wide side of the field again. And right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead, shade over the top. We're just going to get our curl flats. Now, I know that the quarter flats play the same, but I also want my outside quarters to play back. I don't want them to jam at the line of scrimmage because that's how I get burnt deep. So I'm going to shade over the top. Again, the curl flat will play the same as my quarter flat, of course. Now, the next thing that we're going to go ahead and do, you could actually shade, or rather shade, you could spread your defensive line out, rather, just because we're going to put this guy in a zone here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put X in a hard flat, and I'm going to put the A linebacker in a hard flat. So it's going to look like this. Wrong adjustment, but we're going to put him in the hard flat just like this. Now we have our double mabel look. For whatever reason, he's in the wrong spot, but this guy's going to be a safety. Now, I would recommend getting an athletic linebacker here. I did not do that myself, but that would probably be a smart thing to go ahead and do, especially since he's going to be in coverage. He's playing the flat, so it's not too big of an assignment, but you want him to tackle and things like that. But yeah, so in this assignment, we're going to use the middle of the field, Jonathan Abrams. Since we do have 4 deep blue zones, you're not going to have any help in the middle of the field, so you got to keep that in mind as well. But pretty much the last thing I like to do is just deep half A, just like so, especially against bunch. We don't want to get burnt. Against other formations, I am more likely to leave my cover 4 stock. Maybe I'll do some audibling around, but for now, this is the style that we're going to run it. As far as the adjustments, we'll just run stock type of flood setup. And this stock flood actually beats just a regular cover 4 with no adjustments, so that's something to note as well. You see coverage really well there. Right there, we get the lurk, and overall, everything just seems to be defended very well. Kind of showed the replay, as we do end up taking that to the house, but let's show the replay, show how just everything looks. Everything is covered relatively well there. Now, the one thing that maybe is open is this, but good enough safety is going to make that play very easily. The middle of the field would be your kind of one concern because you see how these inside quarters do kind of play a little bit risky. We'll talk about some of the things you can do later with that, but yeah, coverage really well. Flat's playing where we want it. Against something, if he's going with flood a lot, you can set this curl flat to 20 yards, and that's something I'm more likely to do out of a mat or cover 4 base because you see how the outside quarter is going to play a little bit more aggressive. So I'm actually going to go change it to 20. I think that might be a little bit better. But you see how even right there, he's kind of playing a little bit too deep for us. Again, it depends on the player, but 20 seems like it would be a little bit of a better mark for us. I'll set it up again and then we'll switch it, but you see how the coverage is relatively good. And we'll do some more advanced stuff a little bit later, but for now, you're just going to press, shade over the top, put those 2 players in hard flat zones, and then just go ahead deep half A. So it's relatively simple. Again, it's a 2-man rush. Don't expect too much pressure. Let's go with a different play. Let's go with Z-spot now. Relatively stock Z-spot setup, something like this. And again, obviously, depending on it, this streak could get a little bit of separation. So if I want to, maybe I could shade inside. But I can kind of lurk down the streak, defend this, and you see how if I throw that deep, we have our inside quarter right there. And obviously that was underthrown. I threw it a little bit late. But the deep half was in a pretty good position. And because of that route combo, no one's really going to put 2 streaks on the field this year. That's not a super popular thing to do. But the corner route was covered really well. I'll set that up again. You see how those outside quarters are pretty good at defending those types of plays. Again, press, shade over the top. I like to spread my defensive line and then just blitz your user in deep half A. Now again, we'll set up Z spot. I'll go with like a streak concept now, something like this. Just a relatively, again, stock basic setups that you see online. Go ahead, snap the ball. You see how right there, everything is covered really well. Now, if I notice my outside quarter getting burnt just a little bit on that stock press, something that I might like to do is I could even baseline and press, just like this. That way, he should not get just blown past like that, because I have seen that kind of be a little bit of a concern. We'll go with something like this as far as our setup is concerned. Bench pivot, kind of a stock setup again. We'll press, shade over the top. This time, again, I did base align. Now, base aligning is not too popular this year, but it is still something that you can do out of cover 4. Strictly, it's a concept that I like to go with, but you see bench pivot, that corner out's going to be covered pretty well, and the outside quarter is just in a way better spot to play the ball, whereas if he's stock in a press, he still has to get all the way over. Then you see how the Z-spot route almost seemed to pass him by. But right here, I'm going to actually switch my zone drops. All right, back out on the field, I'm going to hop into some of the other setups that I was talking about, a little bit more adjustment, more advanced type setups. Now, we saw that our biggest hole right here is going to be in the middle of the field. So I'm going to set up everything the same, do this the same, but we're just going to kind of utilize one side of the match coverage. So I'm going to set up everything again like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, deep half A, but I'm going to adjust the things over here. So if I don't want to go with match, I can kind of turn the side into just a cover 3 Mabel. So I can go with Y on an inside third and then X. I could leave him on his outside quarter. From this side, I like leaving the outside quarter because there's not any cover 3 beaters from right to left, at least out of gun bunch this year. So mainly one is going to be that PA fork, I think it's called, at a bunch offset. That's one that's a little bit decent, but not many people run bunch offset these days, at least that I play. But this is the first way we're going to run it. Again, solid coverage, not awful. As far as that's concerned, and obviously there's other things I can kind of do to mix it up. If I didn't want this outside quarter on the field at all, then I would just call cover 3. So that's the reason that we don't just completely turn it into something like that. But let's call a different play. Let's go with like a tight end hook setup. Out of this play, my responsibility is going to be kind of defending RB, but then again, the hook is also open, so I've got to lurk over, and then I'm going to kind of defend A. You see how that crosser is pretty good, and that's the reason that this play is so good, tight end hook, because the crosser just gets in between double Mabel zones relatively well. So if you see something like tight end hook, which you won't, it's a very playbook exclusive play, Seattle bunch. This is Philly bunch, for example. But if I see that, maybe I want to flip these guys. I put this guy in the curl flat, this guy in the hard flat. That would be a little solid option for you. But let's show those adjustments again. And I'll kind of talk about some of the counters that you can also do as far as it's concerned. For this one, we'll just go ahead and throw X in a little inside or outside third. Then again, we'll deep half A. So this would be the other way to run it. This is the first way, which you're really adjusting a lot of zones, so you have to be good with your adjustments to get this off. The majority of what I'm doing is I'm basically just deep halving A, inside thirding Y, and I'm outside thirding X. So we're adjusting 3 of those zones. Then we have our 2 flats. So it's not all that much when you think about it, but if you're not good with adjustments, it probably seems like a lot. You're, again, only adding 2 adjustments. If you're only putting the inside third on the field, you're only adding 1 adjustment. But just be careful and watch what your opponent does. You can make reads on his, hot routes, pick up some of his tendencies, then I think you'll be good. But let's set up something again. Let's go with Z spot here. So we'll set up again this Z spot setup. You'll see how the inside of the field is going to be covered a lot better. So something like this on offense. And again, if I wanted to, I can still baseline press. So this would be a little bit better against Z spot in particular, at least that corner out. Because you see right there, I throw it outside quarters in position. We also have the curl flat. Now, again, this is just a good mix-up. I urge you guys to completely mix up this in match coverage. Just switch it. You can almost go every other play, every 2 plays, something like that. Just don't let your opponent get a read on it. Again, the player is going to seem the exact same to him. Maybe depending on who you want to use her out of match, you could use her this guy potentially. But everything's going to be relatively the same. This is why 3-3-5 wide is so good. You can just switch between plays, setups. Cover 3 looks the same as man coverage, looks the same as cover 4 match, looks the same as cover 4 with double mabel. It's just so difficult to make reads on it. And then, boom, you do something, then you're going to use a rush. So it's difficult to defend on offense or expose on offense, but overall, I love this defense. Again, not necessarily an every down defense, and I could still mix in double mabel cover 3, things like that, but it's good to catch people off guard, and it's a very unique defense, so you won't see this a lot. But overall, it's going to do for the video. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and peace. I'm out of here.